Hello all, welcome to Clark Technologies, and we are very happy to announce that we are going to provide a free course for MuleSoft for all the freshers and beginners and who want to learn MuleSoft from scratch. This is entirely free course which we are going to release on day by day basis. So it will be a 30 days course, so it is very helpful for you to learn MuleSoft from scratch. And we have explained this course with the real-time project. We have built a real-time project also. In order to explain that, we have created a couple of files and project code as well. So if you want to get those files and projects, please email us with this subject line, request to share level 1 course files. Also, we have an important announcement that we are planning to release a MuleSoft advanced level 2 course very soon. So in this course we will be discussing most of the topics of MuleSoft, which will help you very well in order to complete level 2 certification as well as to work on complex real-time projects as well. So I hope you will be enjoying that course as well. So if you want to know more details about advanced level course, please contact us via mobile or email. We will be sharing those details. So without further delay, let's get started. So we have seen a default error handler in our previous video. In this video, we will see what is on error continue. We are going to write our own error handling logic to handle this error. Let's see how it will behave and how we can handle it by using on error continue. We have three different modules. Three different operators here. If you can search with error, you can see error continue, on error propagate, erase error. These three are flow error handling strategies, flow level error handling strategy. If you can see, flow level error handling strategies are these three components. We can achieve that. So let's see that. Then later on you will see global error handler, because once you understand all this flow level error handling, then you will understand better global error handler. So let me just calm down. Let's go back to the studio and yeah, we have on error continue, on error propagate, right? Let's drag and drop the on error continue in the error handling section. Okay, now you need to select the type, which type of error you are going to handle. So as of now, we have validation module. We have it will we need to handle validation and invalid number valid type, because that is the error we have we received earlier. But once you click on type here, it will show you all the possible errors. So if you have added any new connectors in this processors, it will show all the errors related to that particular processors. For example, let's drag and drop database. So if you can observe the type here, okay, by default any is there, it will handle any type of error. And as you have used only validation is number operation, it is showing possible errors like validation. You can let me put it in another way. So in this particular flow, you will expect these type of errors: stream maximum size exceeded, expression data view error, validation invalid number, because you have only these two components. If you have added any other component, it will show you all the possible errors for that particular component also. That is the beauty of Mule 4. In Mule 3, we don't have this type of functionality. In Mule 4, they have improved the error handling functionality like this. So let's drag and drop the database just to show you different kind of error types, what it will show. See, we have drag and drop database here, but we have not configured anything. We just drag and drop. So if you can go here on the error handling section, just click on type. It will show you. See, earlier the DB related errors are not there. Now if you can drag and drop, you can see DB colon bad SQL syntax, DB colon connectivity. You have these three different errors added here, because by using this data view connector, by using this select operation of data view connector, very specific it will show all the very specific details of error handler. So for this connector, you can expect these three type of errors. If you have drag and drop another database connector, it will show different see, it will show different errors. I have actually drag and drop the insert. Okay, now if you can see, go to error handler. If you can check here, See, now it has added one more thing, retry exhausted. So like that, based on the different connectors you have, I'm actually removing this. So based on the different connectors you have used in your flow, it will show you the possible errors you are getting. But I mean, you can expect the possible errors you can expect. So you should handle all the errors it is showing here. The best practice is like it will show all the possible errors here, right? So you should aware that you can you need to make sure that you will handle all the type of errors, all the possible type of errors it is showing here. So then your code will looks good, and in that case you can assume that you will handle all the different type of errors. So that is how error handler will work in Mule 4. So let's coming to our use case. So here we need to handle a validation error, right? So click on type. You need to select validation in, you just uncheck everything. Just give, just uncheck everything. What is this? It means you should actually just give me 1 minute. My mouse. So you can okay. Other error types it is showing. Just maximize this ones. It is behaving weirdly. Just select this one. Validation invalid number. Just select that one. That is fine. So now the type is validation invalid number, which means we are going to handle only validation module of invalid number type of error. So this is how you need to configure this. So let's add some payload here in this error on error continue black, and let's run and see how it will behave. So let me drag and drop transform view component here to add some payload. So this is success payload we have added here, right? So now what we can do, let's copy the same response, but let's modify it a little bit. Okay, so let's change this to JSON, and now we should take that what is this? We should take that HTTP status code from the error itself. Okay, so from where you are getting that status code, we need to analyze the error object again. So let's see the response. Instead of response, we can say error description, or you can give any other name here. Okay, so here you can take that field by using error object syntax, which we have discussed earlier, right? So to take the description, error dot description, this is the syntax you can use in data view. Okay, that's okay, you can ignore this, it will take at the runtime. Let me double click it. So it is not show, it is showing like error is not valid object, but while doing the runtime it will take the actual value. So error. Let's cross check the syntax once. Yeah, it's the same thing, but if you are using in logger, we need to use this mel syntax like hash and that square bases and all. In data view you can directly use in this way. Okay, so let's try to run this application, but meanwhile you need to change one thing. If you remember, earlier we have discussed, right, for the HTTP listener responses, successful response is payload. So whenever you set any payload here in your flow, that payload you will get as a response. But for error response, what is the default value? See, the default value is error dot description. So that is why you have received the error dot description value while it is applying the default error handling for your flow. But now we need to change this also payload. We can say this is also payload, because now we are setting the payload in the error handling block, right? So whatever the payload you have set here, this payload you will get a response if you encountered any error. So earlier for this error, you received clar demo is not valid integer value. This is the error actual error description, which is applicable by default. right? So now you have changed this error response in a specific format, but here in the status code we need to analyze it from where you are going to receive that status code. So as of now, just hard code this value to 400. Let's see, let's debug this application, let's see where we can get the status code, then we will decide how to handle that. So yeah, let's see the responses. Again, here only you can get the status code. See, you can set one variable here to get the status code. You can create a new status code variable and you can just send that variable to here. So let's see that later. First, let's understand how we can get that error response. Okay, so let's save this application. Let me add one more breakpoint here, debug breakpoint. So let's stop the previous deployment. Let's run this application in debug mode to debug this application. Okay, 1 second. So debug Mule application. It will take some time. I'll pause the video and I'll reshow once it is deployed. Yes, yeah, now it is deployed. Let's test this flow and let's see how it will behave now by using on error continue. Okay, so let's go to Postman, send the same request because we need to generate the error and we need to see the error scenario only now. So let's send a class demo is only the value for this contact. Click on send. Your Anypie Studio will have one Mule debugger event. So earlier there will be no much change here. So we have only one query parameter, everything is same. Even the request is also same, right? So let's click on next processor. Now observe this behavior. So earlier, if without error handling, when this error is occurred here by using this, this red dotted line is highlighted here with this error. Once you click on next processor, it stops the execution earlier without error handling. Now we are using on error continue. Now let's click on next processor. Let's see where it will go. See now, the control is jumped to error handling section. So this processor is now going to execute. Okay, click on next. That's it. Now whenever you see this gray color buttons here, it means execution is completed. So listener send request to here. Whenever the error is occurred, the next processor is not getting executed. The control jump to this section, error handling section, and what are the processes available here that will execute. So now we have only transform data view component here to set up the response. So now these buttons are getting to gray colored, which means error execution is completed of this particular flow. So it will send a response to you in Postman. Let's go to the Postman. See now. Now what is the status here? What is the response here? So we have the response, error description and status, which we have defined here in the data view component of error handling section. But very important thing you need to observe for on error continue is, see, this is the response code. Response code, it is sending 200 for on error continue. If you remember earlier, without error handling, when we tested this application, the status is showing 500 service is unavailable, something 500 error code you have received, but now you have received 200. Okay, which it means on error continue will always send a success response code to the end user. So this is the main thing you need to remember, because this will come into your interview questions also. Okay, so that is the main thing. Let's go to our Mule palette. Let's add a couple of other components here. So let's add logger. So why I have added this logger and all, right? Even in error continue or on error propagate, all the components available in this error handling section will execute. But only difference is error code for on error continue. On error continue, it will send a HTTP status code as 200 OK. But in on error propagate, it will send the actual error code. Let's see the on error propagate now. I hope you understand the on error continue section, how you can use it. So this is very simple error handling scenario. Once we are going to implement this for our system API, you will feel some complex scenarios. So this is how you can use on error continue. I hope you understand this. Let's meet in another video. Now let's see how on error propagate will work. Okay. Um, Meanwhile, I'll just copy this response instead of typing again. So I'll remove this on error continue, just delete component. Now search for error here. Drag and drop the on error propagate this time. Here use the same components. Transform view. Okay. And add one logger also, just to see if the next processor is getting executed or not in the on error block. In the transform view, I have just pasted the same thing which we have taken earlier, and in the logger you can just mention one log message like on error propagate. Propagate section. Okay, so let's save this application. Let's again run this application in debug mode. Let's observe how this on error propagate will behave now. Okay, so right click your application, go to debug as Mule application. So it is deployed. Let's test this another propagate example with the same request. So let's send the request with the same details. You don't need to change anything here. And here just go to the next processors. So as expected, error is occurred here. So if you click on next processor, it will go to on error propagate error section, and it is going to execute the transform message component. Just click next. So it will execute all the components in this error handling block. It won't execute anything here after the error is occurred in this component, but everything in this error handling section will execute for sure. Okay. So yeah, now it is go to grade response. Let's go to the postman and let's see the description and error response is same, because the same response which we have given here in the transform view. Only thing you need to observe again, you need to concentrate on status code. See, if an on error propagate, the status code is 500, a server error. The actual error code it is going to send back. But in case of on error continue, you will get 200 success. Okay, so if you have any scenario like to continue the flow to send a success response whenever an error is occurred, you can use on error continue. If you have any requirement like you have to send the actual error response, actual error status code, you can go with on error propagate. So this is the main difference between these two components. So based on your requirements, you have to choose the component wisely. Okay, so other than that, I have to know, I have to explain one more thing here. So we can give our own status code also. So by using the set variable component, you can set up one status code here. For example, you can say http status code. You can give your own status code. So for this on error propagate, I would like to give 400 as the value. Okay, so but here earlier it is 500, is this is the default error code, but I would like to give 400 as the value for this error. Whenever it come to this error code section, it should send 400 as the error code for me. How you can choose the error codes, we have already discussed as part of our RAML session. We have seen couple of HTTP response codes, 400 responses, 500 responses, and 200, 201 responses, right? You can refer that video. There we have discussed a lot of error codes, 400 family and 500 family error codes. So based on your scenario, you can select that error codes. And some projects require their own custom error codes. Maybe other than this 400, 500, they will have their own error codes. In that case also, you can utilize this scenario. Okay, so now we have created one variable HTTP status code. Let's copy this. Now we have given value here 400. Okay, so you can expect status code here. So let's map this dynamically. So the variable which where we have created here, that variable name you want to, I mean, you have to give here. Okay. Again, to get this as an error code in the HTTP status response, you have to do one more configuration, which is for HTTP connector, you have to give that response here. What I meant was, if you want to get this error code here, you need to do the configuration here in the data view, because this is where we are forming the response. So if you want to get the same error code as the HTTP status code also as a header value, you have to do some change here in the listener. Go to responses. So by default, for error response body, we have given payload. See here, one more field, status code field is there. So here you can give that variable name by using syntax var start variable name. That is the syntax. You need to select the function here. Let's wait. So once you select this function, then you need to give var start that particular variable name. So once you select the function, it will turn to blue like this. Then only it will treat this as a mule data view expression. Otherwise, it will treat as a string. So that is the thing. So just click here and it got stuck. So var start value and click on this function field. Or else you can change directly here. See, you can just give the syntax like hash and square braces. Like this also you can edit from here, like the XML code. Okay, so it will represent here in the function. So let's save this. Let's run it again and let's test once it is deployed. Let me run this again. So this time I would like to change this to normal run mode. We can run it as a normal Mule application instead of run it in debug mode. So let's run as a normal Mule application and let's see. So it is deployed now. Let's test it. The same response. No, it is throwing same response. Let's see what happened. It is getting saved or not. S.html. Let me run this application again. It is taking old values only. Let me stop this application and rerun again. Yeah, it was my mistake actually. While rerun this application, I have observed one mistake done by me. So while adding this error code in the responses, by mistake, I have added that status code here in the normal response. This is success response. We should not add here. You need to add that under this error response section. So now I have corrected this. I have added that status code vars.http status code here in error response box, not in the normal response box. Normal response box is for success response. Okay, that is a mistake done from my end. So that's why it is not showing the actual error code. Now I corrected it, saved this application and redeployed this. Let's go to Postman and let's test this. Yeah, see, now you are getting the actual status code here as a response, as well as in the HTTP status code also it is showing 400. It will automatically map. See, we didn't say this bad request anywhere, but 400 means bad request. So this is how you can actually give your own status codes also. In on error continue, either on error propagate, in anything you can do that based on your requirement. I hope you understand this one. Let's see another video how we can use rise error and all. Okay, that's it for this video. Please practice. And one more thing I would like to mention here, based on the different error types you have, different error codes you have, you can use as many as on error propagate or as many as on error continue blocks. In your on error handling block, you can use any number of on error propagate, any number of on error continue sections here. Even you can use combinations. See, you can use propagate, few propagate errors and few continue errors, like that also you can use based on your requirement. But you need to select the correct error type for each and every block. We have seen, right, error type. We need to select correct error type as per your requirement. You need to select in each and every error type. And one more thing you need to keep in mind, last section of your error handling section, last block, even it is an error propagate and error continue, you should have any, you should select any type for that, which is the last one, not here. Here you need to select any other expression or something. Okay, here expression errors it will handle, validation errors this block will handle. So at the end of your error handling block, you should use any error continue or propagate one, but you should select that is any, because error handling will check all the error types based on the sequence. If you did handle any error type mentioned in this previous error block, it will send that to last block, which will handle any type of error. If you didn't handle anything here in the previous blocks, remaining all type of errors it will handle. So that's why it should be at the end of your error handling section. So like that you can take as many as on error propagate and on error continue blocks. Now talking about uh, what is this, let me delete this. So now let's talk about rise error. So I'm deleting everything here. Rise error actually you can use anywhere. You can use it in the flow itself, or you can use in the type of error handling section, or you can use even in the success flow also. But on error continue you cannot use here. You will use only on error handling block only. On error continue, on error propagate, you should use only at the error handling section. But rise error you can use anywhere you want. So what is the use of this rise error? You can raise any custom errors. If you want to raise your own errors, you can use this. But you need to handle this again by using any of the on error continue, on error propagate. Those two are linked together. So you want to generate a new error. You want to create a new error, like for example, here the response is success. You can say this is also an error. You can raise any error here. So you can give, you have to give one namespace and identifier based. This is the same in similar format which we have earlier, like HTTP unauthorized, validation invalid number, like that. You can give any other any other namespace and identifier. Unknown error, but syntax should be same. You can give namespace colon identifier, and you can give description, like this is a custom error, and you have to handle this error also in error handling section, otherwise it won't give you the response. So copy the type, use any error continue and on error propagate here. Here you are generating error, here you are catching that error, handling that error, that's it. Okay, so here what you have to do, you need to select the type as the custom type which you have given here. That won't show here because that is the generated by you only, right? So you have to paste that error type which you have created here. This is the error type you have created by your own. This is not the mule related errors. You have given your own error. So you need to handle that. And if you have any error in custom type of error, you have to generate the response also. So for this, I don't want to mention much time. So I just wanted to give a response like this is custom error. This time I didn't create any variable for status also, but you have to create because you have mentioned status code here in the error responses, right? If you didn't create anything, it may throw null pointer exception something, right? So to avoid that, just create the um, error. So you need to select the variable name here, same variable name you have to give. So you can give any variable name if you want, but these both should be same. So you have to create the same variable name here because this variable is mapped here. You can give 1000 this time because this is custom error. You can give any other status code. Okay. So let's run this application and let's see how this will behave. So it is deployed. Let's test this. Okay, I didn't receive any response. Okay. Okay. So the reason is before it is executing this component, actually the validation error occur. So that's why you didn't response. You didn't get any response. So let's drag and drop this to initially. So whenever the flow is executed, first now this time the rise error will execute first. So error is generating here, and then this error will handle. So the next components will not execute. Okay. So let's redeploy this application again and see. So let's try to test this now. What happened? Let me go back to studio. Okay, yeah. Here you see this is a custom error. The error is generated here, but you didn't receive any response in Postman because we have used honor propagate. The execution is not handled, it seems. So basically, this is how you can generate custom error by using rise error component. Let's debug this application and let's see why you didn't receive response in the Postman. Okay, let's resend this again. Could not get the response. Overflow. Okay, there is no payload here. So you have generated, this is the response. So in this times actually debug will help. So let's do that, or else let's try with this error continue. Okay, and let's see that. So anyhow you can do this error rise error like this way. Okay, let's see this later. So now let's discuss about global error handling, which is another type of application level error handling. Okay, so to do that, what you have to do, the even in general practices also, you have to use one configuration file for all the error handling. Okay, let's create a new configuration file. Error handling, you can name it as error handling.xml or anything based on your naming conventions, your customer or client naming conventions, but this is the best practices. So even for all your applications, you should have one common error handling .xml configuration file where you will have all the error handling, on error propagate, on error continue, or everything. You will have all the sections here. You need to map this to your application so that any error occurred in entire your application. Let's say let's say if you we have this system API, right? Let's take this example for this case. See, we have main flow, we have different resources flows, okay, bus details and all, and you have another configuration file to get travel details. You have another configuration file like bus details by city, bus details, all bus details like that. You have three different configuration files with multiple flows. In this scenario, if you can have one common file called error handling.xml where you can just create configure your global error handling. So any error occur in all these three flows, that error handling file will take care of it. Any error occurred in your all applications or any other all your configuration files and all your flows, global error handling will take care of it. It will handle all the errors if you don't have any other flow level handling and process level handling. So to do that, you have to create one new XML file like this, and you have to create one global error handling. To do that, we have one component which is called error handler. First, you need to drag and drop the error handler. Then inside that, you will have as many as on error continue, as many as on error propagate, any sections you want based on your requirement. So you should use error handler at the first. Inside that you will have any number of on error continue, on error propagate, on error continue, anything you want. So based on the different types of error you are going to handle. See, for example, if your in your example it is containing HTTP requester, database, Salesforce and everything, you have to handle all the errors one by one type manually, right? So for all the different error types, you will have one specific on error continue propagate or any other different number of propagate sections, different number of continue sections. All things, all the sections you have to capture here in the error handler block. You can just name this, rename this. Just click here. Instead of this, you can just give a name like global error handler. That's it. Okay, you have to configure this with your HTTP response and data view response. HTTP status code and data view response. Based on this, you can configure all your on error continue or propagate blocks. Now you will get one doubt like how this will understandable by your application. Like if any error is occurred in this flow, forget about this rise error. So now we have validation error. We have not handled here, for example. Didn't handle here. So if one let's say we have occurred this this validation error is occurred here, but we have not handled here at the flow level. So now how your application will come to know, it should go to this global error handler. It should get that it should test for that type where is the error handler is and how we can execute that one. You will get that doubt, right? So we need to do one small configuration in order to link this global error handler to your application. Okay, to do that, go to global elements, click on create, search for configuration. So this is the one configuration. Earlier we have used configuration properties, that is to give the property file configuration, but now you should use configuration. Click on OK. See, here it will show you here you need to configure the global error handler. You need to select that global error handler flow name here. So let's just go back to our error handling.xml file. So what is your name? Your global error handler name. What is your global error handler name? This is the one, global error handler. This is the name, right? So you need to select that name while configuring that global error handler. So configuration you can search for. So here it is asking for you to default error handler. You need to just select global error handler is the flow name. It will show you only that global error handler only. So by doing this configuration, your application will understand like this error is just we didn't configure anything here, right? So that is why it is showing error, and we didn't select any type also. So for example, let's just delete them, delete the remaining. Let's have only one as of now to handle that validation errors. So we need to just select the type. What happened? The type is not visible here. Okay. One more thing you need to remember is because in your error handling.xml you don't have any components like validation and all, right? So you have to write the error types manually. That is only thing you need to remember, because earlier if you observe earlier here, when once you drag and drop your on error continue or on error propagate, and the time of type field, it is showing all the error type possible errors based on your components which you have used, right? Because your flow is having everything, like your flow is having all the components. But in case of this global error handling, there is no real-time flows. I mean, there is no actual business logic flows, and we don't have any components here. So we have only error handling logic here. So it don't know like which connector possible errors it need to show. So that's why you need to enter manually. You need to copy that error type from here by dragging drop any error continue. Just copy and paste that error type here. So that you can use as many as error handlers and as many as error types you can handle here. And one more thing, you can actually handle any number of types here. It doesn't mean that one error continue will take only one error type. You can have two to three types also at a time. So if you can select two, see, it is separated by comma. So it will this same on error continue block will handle invalid number validation error as well as expression error. Like that, if you want to club two or three error types together, you can use that. You can do that also. You can just select as many as error types you have. You can have common logic here. Or if you want to handle it separately, you can do with different on error continue, on error propagate blocks. So this is how you can configure your global error handler. And in the global elements, by using configuration, you need to mention which error handler flow you need to select. So now what will happen, if any error occurred in your flow, you don't have your flow level error handling here. Your flow doesn't contain any error handling logic. So it will check for global error handling. So if you have global error handling, if it handle all the errors, then okay, it will handle that errors. It will execute the code in that particular error handling. If global error handling is also not available, we have already seen Mule will apply default error handler logic for that. Okay, this is how your error handling will work together. This is also another type of application level error handling, which is nothing but global error handling. So we have seen, let me just open the PPT again. So we have seen default error handler, global error handler, on error continue, propagate, rise error. So we have seen application level error handling, flow level error handling. Only thing pending is we need to see how processor level error handling will work. If you want to handle errors specific to one component, specific to one processor, how you can achieve that. That is, we can do with try-catch scope. Let's see in our next video how we can do that. I hope you understood this video. Let's meet in another video. So let's see how that try scope will work. Let's go back to our error handling demo. Let's assume that you have one data view component. You would like to handle any database component, or else let's say you have one HTTP request. This is the component actually to utilize to invoke any REST API. To create a REST API, we have to design it, create an API, and implement it in MuleSoft. Right? So to consume any other third-party REST API, to consume any other REST API URL, you should use HTTP request connector. We will see this in detail in our next session, next video. But for now, let's say if you have to handle this, I have a dummy URL. Let me just this actually I got it from internet only. So this is not the one developed by me. This is the general one available in internet. This is the one connector configuration. I'll tell you how to configure this and all. So don't worry about it right now. I will explain this in our next video. Just I wanted to show you one one scenario for this try-catch scope. I have used this. So I have used a HTTP request connector. Now if I would like to handle any errors occurred specific to this connector, you can use try scope. That is a scope. So you can check with try. So you can just drag and drop here. It is a scope. It will have its own error handling. So if you drag and drop any number of components, you can drag and drop any number of components here. If you want to handle these two components errors separately, you can use this. Otherwise, you want to handle only HTTP request related errors separately. Maybe if this is your requirement, you can use this try scope. Inside that try scope, you can just drag and drop the HTTP request here. In this error handling section, you can write the logic, error handling logic, by using on error continue or on error propagate. So here, let's say we have used something, but here if you can observe, you need to select the error types again. Now if you can observe, these are all the HTTP errors, different types of HTTP errors which will occur for this HTTP request connector. You can select any other error types and you can configure this. So now let's see what are the different type of errors it will have. So gateway connectivity, something. Let's take this connectivity because we will generate one dummy URL. We'll change this URL and we will create an error. Okay, dummy test. This URL is not exists. So you will get definitely one connectivity type of error. So let's remove this validation, because if it is executed, then it will throw that validation error only. It won't execute the try scope. So now you will expect some connectivity error here, and we don't have any other error handlers now. So even in this flow level error handling we didn't have. Let's remove this global error handling also, just to observe the try scope one. Okay, so now we have only this try-catch, try-scope error handling, which is processor level error handling. Processor is nothing but a specific connector which we have drag and drop at the processor section. So now this is one processor HTTP request. For this processor, we are actually handling the error by using try-scope. Let's see how this will behave and why it is throwing error. We removed that global error handler, but we didn't remove this configuration. So that is the thing. So yeah, let's save this application. Now we don't have any errors. Now we have only try scope here. So let's run this application and let's see how this will behave. Now let's see how this will behave. See, we have received one uh, Java type of error here because we didn't give the proper response. It is just Java. So you can say error.description here. To get the actual error message, but you can see the actual error message in log here in the console. So if you can observe here, so this is the message: HTTP GET request on the resource for this URL is failed because could not resolve this address. So what is the error type? It is HTTP connectivity. We have handled that HTTP connectivity error here in this try-catch scope. So that is why it is throwing, this connector is throwing this HTTP connectivity error. This error handling section is capturing that it is actually send this response to us. Earlier it was Java, that is why it is showing a Java kind of error response here. But error code is 500 server because we have not generated any error code here. So this is how, if you want to handle any error specific to a processor, or if you want to handle one or two processors in a separate way based on your project requirement, you can use this try scope. You can drag and drop those components into this try scope. You can write a separate error handling logic here by handling by selecting the specific error types which you are going to handle. I hope you understand how you can use this try scope to handle errors. Okay, so that's it for this video. You can just change this response and redeploy this application and test it. That's not an issue because we have already seen the response, right? That is why I'm not redeploying it again and test it again, because I don't want to waste time for that, because we have already seen how we can get the custom response. You can do that in the same way. So this is how you can use this try scope. I hope you understand this. Let's meet in another video. Please try to practice all these things, all the flow level error handling, application level error handling, and the processor level error handling. So by this, we have actually completed all the error handling strategies discussion. Okay. Let me just go back to the strategies. Yeah, here. So we have discussed all the error handlings. So now, what is the order of this error handling? We'll see in our next video. Okay, now let's see what is the order of error handling strategies it will execute. So, if you can understand, we have different kind of error handling: processor level, flow level, application level, three types. So if any error occurred in this particular connector, it will first check for its own error handling, which is nothing but processor level error handling. So if nothing is handled here, then it will check for flow level error handling. Like if in this particular flow, if you have any error handling logic, it will execute this. Even if you didn't write anything here for the flow level, if you don't have any flow level error handling, then it will check for application level error handling. If it has any global error handler logic and all. So if it has any global error handling logic, it will apply that. If you don't have that also, then it will apply default error handling. That's in general with the common sense, if we can think, that is the order of error handling process, right? So if anything there at the process level specific to this particular connector, it will execute this first and it will handle this error first here itself. It won't check for all the application or all the flow. If you don't have anything here, if you don't have any try scope, if you don't have any processor level error handling, then it will check for this error handling section, which is nothing but flow level error handling, which is specific to this flow. If it doesn't contain this error handling details also, it will check for if you have written any global error handling at the application level. So that is how this processor level will work. I mean the order of error handling. First it will check for processor, which means try-catch scope. If it is there, okay. Otherwise it will check for flow level. Like if you have any flow level error handling section, if you have anything used by these components, if does it also not there, then it will check for application level. Even in this application level also, it will check for global error handler first. If it doesn't exist, we already seen our first video of this hands-on session. If we didn't write any error handling by our own, MuleSoft will apply its own default error handler from MuleSoft side itself. So that will work. That will applicable. So this is how error handling orders will work. I hope you understand this, and you learned something about this error handling session. So that's it for this session. Let's meet in another session. Okay. We have seen all the planned activities of this error handling session, and you will find one doubt, like if we have subflows, how the error handling will work. Let's say this is the main flow, and if you have a subflow, okay, if you have a subflow doesn't have its own error handling. We have already seen the flow types. So if you have invoked this flow into this particular flow, what will happen if any error occurred in this subflow? The errors will be handled by its parent flow. Parent flow is nothing but the flow which is calling this flow. So in this case, this main flow, this is the parent flow, and this subflow is the child flow. So any error occurred here, it will be handled by main flow, because subflow doesn't have its own error handling. Okay, so instead of this, if you have any other flow itself, sometimes we may have some requirement, like you have two different normal flows, but you have to invoke one flow into another flow. In that case, it will this is also main flow type, but this will treat as a child flow. in this scenario. So how this child flow error handling will work, then how the parent flow error handling will work. Obviously, as we have seen the order of error handling, first it will execute the child flow error handling section only. If it doesn't contain anything, then it will, then the parent flow will take care of the error handling. So if it is having any error handling by its own in the child flow, this error handling logic will work out. Otherwise, parent flow error handling logic will be applicable. So that's it. So just try to practice all these scenarios by your own with play around with all these scenarios with subflow, main flow, and on error continue and all the different error handling strategies. Then you will get complete grip on error handling. So that will be very helpful for you in your real-time projects. Okay. So these are all the specific details which we have already seen in our demo itself. So that is why I don't want to discuss anything this thing again to repeat it and to waste the time. So and that's it for this error handling section. Please try to practice everything and learn new things in this error handling section because error handling is the main thing for any project. I hope you enjoy this session. Thank you for your patience and let's meet in another session.